It's nice.
This was always AR doing two emotions inside one little tune, and in such a short signature, he would not say chaya chaya, chaya 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 chaka chaya chaya, the hamma hamma. The city was burning, what people would have done. But what he picked was the emotion of the mother searching for the child. I don't think you can make a film like Bombay and release it in the theatre and not expect the theatre to be burned down today. I said, this is not working. So Mani said, okay, he's your friend. Why don't you speak to him?
Tracking milestones of an incredible journey spanning more than 3 decades. Rahman Music Sheets. Hi friends, discover the top take as we uncover the wow factor in this episode. Do watch it till the end to grab this musical moment of the day. Rajiv Menon, filmmaker, cinematographer, singer. 3 films Rajiv directed had music by A.R. Rahman. Rajiv also shot Bombay, Guru and Kadhal. But Rajiv and Rahman started hitting the right notes in advertising films much before Roja. Not many know, in Roja the role played by Arvind Swamy was first offered to Rajiv Menon. But believe it or not, Rajiv Menon refused.
Refusing a lead role, that too offered by Mr. Mani Ratnam. Why anyone on earth will do that?
Well, I think sometimes we carry certain dreams and we have certain ambition. And in my case, my ambition was to be a filmmaker or a cinematographer. Acting was not really in my horizon at that time. And I felt that if you become an actor, it's very difficult to come back behind the camera. Nobody will take you seriously as a cinematographer. So, and my senior by 3 years was Suhasini Madam, who was, Mr. Mani Ratnam's wife. And she too was actually a good student, but because she took off as an actress, nobody would really call her as a cinematographer So I think that was a kind of a fear that I had in my mind, so I didn't want to go there. I mean, whatever I look I didn't do anything for it. It's just genetics that I inherited from my, mother and father. So it's like, what do I have? But cinematography is something that I studied, and direction is what I, really believe in. So I think I stuck to those two things.
But you knew Mr. Rahman much before Roja. What exactly brought you together?
Yeah, actually, he was Dilip, and his father, Mr. Shekhar, used to do arranging of music for some of my mother's recordings, and he used to arrange for Mr. Dakshinamurthy also. So some devotional tracks I've seen his father come in. He was really a go-getter man. He would assemble the orchestra and really get going. And he also did compose 1 or 2 films. But then he had his, I think, some stomach cancer or something like that. So he passed away young. And then Dilip was working from the time he was 12 and odd. So when he was playing keyboards, there was a commercial I had got for a Harvest Bran oil. And the commercial was that, when you're eating your rice, it's only half the nutrition, because half the nutrition is taken away in rice bran oil. So you can have that nutrition back in some rice bran oil. So the plate was to just cut into half. So how do you have a steel plate cut, a thali cut into half? So we were debating it, and then one sound engineer said, there is one guy, he's called Dilip. He has got keyboards. He makes all kind of weird sounds and all that. So you go and meet him. So I he was playing music for actually Ilayaraja sir at that time. It was in Prasad, and I went and met him during lunch break, and I said, I have this and I have that. And he said, yeah, we can do it, but what we'll do is you get me some metal cutting sound, and then you get me some plate breaking sound, and get me some wood breaking sound, and some different sounds. So he kind of synthesized some 4 or 5 sounds and then put it, he made some sound like that, which seemed to work, And then this has to be, then he would work till 9 o'clock. So by the time he could come, it was 11 o'clock. It was in another studio and we got it done. And I said, thanks a lot. And, then he said that, I not only make plate-breaking sounds, but I also do some music. So he had this small recorder, but he was basically playing gigs for the other music directors like Raj Koti and Ilayaraja and things like that. So he was playing background scores, and he'll be one amongst like some 3, keyboard players there, and he was the youngest bloke there. And so he had this 4-track cassette player in which he just said, just listen to it. And I listened to it, and it was some kind of fusion music and jazz he played. And it was like so different from anything I heard. Like I was like, wow, I love this. I said, this sounds so international. This is like fantastic. Yeah, so this is the kind of music I do. I don't like film music. I don't like this. So he was completely anti-film music. He wanted to do something else. So I said, we're going to work together. And then we got a commercial to do for a watch, and it was called Alvin Trendy.
Hyderabad Allwin Limited entered the business of wristwatches in 1981. The company is closed now, but its Wikipedia pages proudly announce that in 1987, A.R. Rahman received his first break when he composed jingle for Allwin Trendy watches.
Can you recall how was his track for Allwin Trendy watches different?
Yeah, I mean, so, it was at that time that rap was just, sort of making a break in.
Power beats to set you free. Power beats for you and me.
It was a bit of hip hop happening. But traditionally, you would have a light sort of country vibe to a lot of the jingles at that time. Just little bits of guitar and just a little voice. But here it was percussion heavy, and 3 genres of music are inside one 30-seconder. So tough and light, da-da-da, da-da-da. That was like being sung staccato.
Tough and light, watertight and priced right.
And then some things were being sung in a tune. There were choruses, there was, lead guitars. And he was packing all these 3-4 different ideas into one.
The time has come, Allwin Trendy.
And somehow it sounded very young and, completely there. And that's what, because it was a plastic watch. It was a watch which was in competition with Swatch. The point is, when you are really trying to make young music, you got to go to young people. You can't go to a 55-year-old, 60-year-old man and say, okay, now make young music,
The new Allwin Trendy Quartz.
So we did the track, and we did it in a film studio, which was basically a film thing. But I knew the sound wasn't really good because I was at that time already doing tracks with Louis Banks in Bombay, and I knew that the recording standards were better there. So I told him this and I made him listen to it. He said, come, let's go. So both of us went to Bombay with our tracks, and we re-recorded the voice and things like that in Bombay. And he was, absolutely riveted by the way the recording was being done. I think, shit, I want to do this. I want to have my own studio. I don't need such a big space. Like, it's just this much space is enough, like Bombay. Well, let's have a zing. So he then went after his mother and said, I want to have a studio of my own. So he was like the little child. So an auntie would call me and say, he wants a studio, what is it? So he says, there's a space in the backside of the house, we can just do it. That's how the first studio started coming up. And then he had this 8-track Fostix, but the moment he had bought it, he wanted to lay his hands on a 16-track Fostix. So he said, we just bought it, why do you need it? He said, no, I need that many tracks because already 4 tracks I go for rhythm, then I need 2 tracks for bass and I need 2 tracks for this. And he had his logic, which I found, I couldn't argue with. So auntie was saying, is this worth it? We just bought it. We'll have another studio to do that. So he got an 16-track Fostex and a 4-sticks mixer. I remember that. That was where most of the work was done. And finally, even Roja was done in those tracks. So once he was in the studio, suddenly he bloomed, because with this pressure of going to a studio and having a set of musicians and then just finishing a recording in 3 hours was no more important. And I think Dilip's single biggest advantage at that time is that he was a child in his mind, just wanting this toy to play with. And his mother was his manager stroke, financier stroke, everything, So, and he was working non-stop, earning the money for the family. But this is what he wanted. And then she would give it to him. And then he would just work at it. So, what I always liked is there was no fixed agenda. Okay, we're going to do this. So first is, let's see the film, he'll say. Let's see the film. So it was like, it's very difficult to sort of compose beforehand with him. He likes to see the visual and gets excited by it. So I think film sort of lent itself perfectly. He wasn't composing in limbo. He was reacting to a script or reacting to a situation in a film. And he had done, by then, the time he was 21, 22, he had already worked for 5 to 6 years, almost every day doing background scores for Telugu films and Tamil films. And he knew what he didn't want to do. That was his first step. And in his spare time, he was playing fusion music and jazz and all this kind of stuff. So, he was trying to get different kind of sounds in and getting out of the typical strings and tabla and all that kind of stuff. So all those experiments were welcome in advertising. And what was most interesting with advertising was that it was the time when national television was opening up. So whenever he went and with these ideas to the films, people, they said, this won't work because, this will not be heard in the smaller theaters in the BNC areas, or this will not come, and the engineers would just roughshod over him. But he believed we could do it, and the moment he had a recording studio at home, he didn't have to listen to them. He could actually experiment and come up with the sound better. And when he did this, and when it was put on ads, and these ads were going on national television, people were noticing, oh, this is a guy from Madras who's doing a different kind of a sound. And now, from us going to Bombay and doing, they were saying, okay, now let's do the new Nescafe track with him here, or let's do the new, Asian Paints Pongal. Any of these kind of tracks, we started doing it in Chennai with musicians from here, using lyric writers from here, using singers from the film industry. So suddenly the hub became his house in the backside, and he would still be recording for feature films and then come in the evening and do the jingles. But it was not all smooth sailing either. Sometimes, a lot of effort goes into something, and we put in enormous effort in a track for Gwalior shootings. And it was Mansoor Ali Khan Patowdi, Sharmila Tagore, and they just wanted to include a bit of Saif. And we shot it in Cochin, and it was pouring rain, and we really slogged. In 3 days, AR worked back and back and back on it. And a lot of the elements that he used in those tracks, you'll see some of those elements coming in Elelo, in Roja's background score and stuff like that. And that track got bounced. I was furious. I wrote a letter to the company saying that I'm not coming. I refuse to accept it. This was it. Rahman was upset too, and he said so much of effort, and somebody sits somewhere and says change it, and then they got the track done by Louis Banks, and all I've done is put it out on YouTube. But so many ideas that are there in Roja were already there in that thing, and people bounced it. Gwalior Shootings on whoever the agency just bounced it. Years later, they must be feeling foolish now that you have an Oscar award-winning composer who kind of did a commercial and you kind of bounced it. And so that was the part and parcel of the agony of working in advertising. It's not that you convince a director and it just goes straight to the audience, because there's so many layers of things. So it's a lot of effort getting wasted. So AR, in that sense, was cracking it with new technology, which is digital recording, and he was doing it himself and in his house at his time, not really having an agenda. Okay, now we need to finish something now. I want to finish it when it's correct and when I feel it's new and when it's fresh. So newness, freshness and superior recording was happening. And the problem was, in a 30-second jingle or a musical track, you need to have a hook line in the beginning and then the expansion of that, and then there had to be repetition all in 30 seconds and the voiceover. So his hook lines were, less than 5 seconds. And so people used to, in the industry, used to say, what kind of crap is that? Doesn't make any sense. But we knew that it's going to work and he knew it's going to work because his jingles started becoming popular. So, what I mean to say, it's not the film industry or a producer who says it's not working. It was reaching the audience without them, and people were seeing the commercials for better advertising and more innovation in sound, and therefore it became, there was a Leo Coffee ad in which he had used Veena, and it was a big hit, and actually Arvind had acted in it.
Leo Coffee, Paramparyam Suvaimikka Coffee, Leo Coffee.
So it was accepted, and immediately, Mani Ratnam noticed it, and Mani Ratnam called him, and then it was just like a big opening. And the tracks of Roja were not only a smash hit in Chennai and Tamil Nadu, but it was a rage all over Bombay. And when we used to go to Bombay, all the engineers would say, hey, abhi Rahman ka naya track kya hai? Batao. So we used to carry cassettes and CDs from here for people to listen to in Bombay. It was such a sensation at that time. And I think it's really he never sat with an agenda saying that I'll compose in this rag or I'll do this or I'll do that. It wasn't nothing that. It's just with an open mind, he would just go there and, play something, react to the visual and say, okay, let's bring in this instrumentalist or let's bring that. And I know this is the conventional way of doing it, but let's not do it that way. That was always his raison d'etre. If this is the way the other people are going to do, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to try doing something else. And he was a master of rhythm, and he was the master of the offbeat and things like that. And then when he got reggae into a very, very simple tune, but just the fact that reggae had not come till then as a main tune, so Choti Asa or Chinna Chinna Asa really took off, and a singer who has not heard before, headlining a song, and suddenly it was not the singer anymore, it was the composer, and he was experimenting with new set of singers and breaking new grounds. And he felt that if a tune is completely different, if a tune is completely new, then you can call a conventional singer. But if the tune is little conventional, then you must use an unconventional singer. This was the kind of logic that he operated with.
The Airtel signature tune, the first advertising film A.R. Rahman acted in. His transformation into becoming a youth pop icon started with Vande Mataram, the song celebrating India's 50th year of independence in 1997, became our largest selling non-film album globally. And then, the new millennium brought him Bombay Dreams, a musical by the renowned British composer Andrew Lloyd Webber. Bombay Dreams jump-started Rahman's career in international projects. Then came something that was beyond dreams for Rahman, an offer to act in an advertising film.
You were a witness to his evolution. Can you describe this journey?
So, AR was a very, very shy person. He even for taking stills, his first set of stills with his, keyboards were shot by me, and he would think that if I take his picture, then the pictures come out well, because otherwise he gets very tense. And it's difficult to imagine that shy AR now, because he's like a rock star. He's performing all over the world with giant screens and all that, and wearing designer clothes. It's a completely different Rahman that we are talking about now from what it was then. So he was very, very shy, and he would barely speak one or two words, and that Rahman, first time getting a big visual launch with Ma Tujhe Salam, and suddenly there was this person with long hair on the beach singing with white thing. I said, wow, now you're very confident you're singing with thing. He said, I don't know what, man. I mean, there was sea and all that. I just did it. So he was suddenly becoming the visual pop icon from being just a nerdy composer inside the studio. And that transition was happening, and he had just done Bombay Dreams, and so he was just becoming more confident. He had to tackle and tell people things, and no, I can't, I can, yes, no, and it would be sending emails back and forth to Andrew Lloyd Webber, and also the world suddenly was, okay, let me not get stuck here, so what's the next thing? And then it was his first commercial endorsement where he was going to act. So he was petrified with how is he going to act.
Live every moment. The Airtel campaign was conceptualized by Rediff, one of India's largest ad agencies. Their toughest challenge was convincing Rahman to appear on screen. Airtel wanted to convey coverage and voice clarity as its unique selling points. To represent voice clarity, Airtel's best bet was Rahman, the new voice of Indian film sound.
So he had done this tune and he thought this tune didn't work. And he said, I just got some kind of thread, I don't know if it worked. I came and heard it and I said, it's brilliant. So he said, you think so? But they're having a doubt. I said, no, it's just da 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 da.
Sounds cool.
So there was, it's like a call, but there was also a pathos, both being mixed inside, the major minor kind of a thing. So this was always AR doing two emotions inside one little tune. And in such a short signature, he had got that, and there was something unique. And today it's played, it's the most famous call tune in India. I mean, like corporate call tune that you can think of.
Hey, do you want to hear this? It's nice.
How did this tune come up? How did you jam with people? And that was the time how do we bring in the technology that people could actually be talking on the phone and you could be relaying information. It was way before 5G and way before Zoom and things like that. It was that period where the phone could actually record and send. So we had to incorporate those things as well as take this idea of what was actually behind the music and what's the collaboration and all this.
You want to add something more?
Living a dream, living a home, let the rhythm take control. Living this day, living it now, live the moment right now.
And yet, hold the technology back, but it was also a star who's performing. So this visual and this thing, so we picked on London and we chose to do it. But When we reached London, we were going to shoot. They said, no, don't show the London cap. Don't show those. We don't want to specifically say it's happening in London. It could be happening anywhere because this commercial is largely, there's no network in London now for Airtel. There's only a network in India. So we had to be in London but not show a London cab. So we had to kind of find visuals which were at the same time not typically British, but somehow, communicating that international feel which is there in his music and in his persona, and he was just becoming an international figure. It was before Slumdog Millionaire.
Did you have the complete soundtrack with you while shooting?
No, we composed the track first. We went with the track to London and shot it. We had a track, we made it thicker and with more real instruments after we came back, but we had the full track with us when we went to shoot.
Airtel. Live every moment.
The tagline, "Live every moment," meant if you have a mobile phone, you are actually living every moment. Rahman took technology and molded it into a soul of music. Produced at the cost of rupees 5 crore or $1 million in early 2002, in no time, it became the most downloaded ringtone across the globe. Airtel market share shot up immediately.
Airtel. Live every moment.
Airtel ad was all about sound. This film had to be heard more than watched. Do you think his musical sensibilities as a composer for ad films impacted his feature film songs and background scores also?
No, I've done 3 feature films with him as a director. I have shot, 3 feature films as a cinematographer. So I think, advertising is what he started off with, but there is certain aspects of his film music as well as his background score which are unique. Because of the fact that he doesn't approach his background score like the way others approach. It's not a kind of intellectual approach, it's an emotional approach. So he sees something and he feels some emotion and he just lets it happen. So therefore there is a huge time constraint and he's under pressure and he likes to create things in that way. So it can be frustrating for the filmmaker's point of view, but what he's doing is he's actually searching for something. He's searching for something different. And then there are 2 sides. There is this musician who's searching for something different, and then there is this child in him which is driving his musical composition. So if you notice, he loves the tripling of words. This is the typical technique of his, so he would not say chaiya chaiya.
Chal chaiya 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 chal chaiya 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 chaiya
Chaiya chaiya chaiya chaiya chaka chaiya chaiya. The hamma hamma kuchi kuchi rakamma. This doubling of words, the tripling of words, these are all typical things which it's like a child saying a rhyme. So he would pick these catchwords and he would, use those catchwords to, either say it 3 times or he would say it, but very rarely in the way it was done before. And that aspect of him, doubling, tripling these sounds became his musical signature. And then there was this very, very simplistic melody, but there was a very different kind of rhythm pattern. And he wasn't using the conventional thing. And he was just listening to various kinds of music and wanting to experiment. And therefore, he wasn't really worried about what will happen. And he wanted to work with young people who would accept it. And that's why he ended up doing advertising. And he tried doing some conventional films and it was miserable because they were trying to instruct him what to do. So he picked and chose most of his initial set of directors that he chose to work with are only people who were wanting the experimental stuff. And suddenly when he went to North India and then he was doing his tracks and his success with Tal and his success with, Ram Gopal Verma and things like that, his musical repertoire started growing, and then it's his ability to collaborate with other musicians. He wasn't a guy sitting there who knew it and said, okay, you come in and just record. He was never a person who knew it. He was always the musician who was trying to figure it out and trying to figure out how to do it. So he had this vague idea. So his musicians are his collaborators, his singers are his collaborators. And the day he feels he's not getting something from them, he stops using and he goes to the next person, because actually the singers he chooses, he's expecting them to take this tune and make it different, bigger. And what if you try to sing it with like a folk style? What if you try to sing it? So I remember very clearly during the recording of Mani Ratnam's Tu Hi Re song, the song was sounding very much like a ghazal and it wasn't really going anywhere, and Hari was really wanting to sing it more and more classical, and then Rahman was looking like that and he didn't know what to do. Is it Hariji, how do those Rajasthani singers sing something? Yeah, sing like that. And then say, now sing this Tu Hi Re like that. Let me hear you sing this like that. You mean Tu Hi Re like that. Yeah, try to sing it like that. So, can you imagine taking Hari ji, who is known for ghazals, and saying, okay, now sing it like a folk musician, and then suddenly the song just lit up. And there was all these dying notes. Tu hi re, tere bina main kaise jiyon. So the recording was the most creative phase. So here was this man who would hear a situation, go and pray, then come and light a candle, and he's like saying, now let me forget everything else out of the world. It's a spiritual experience now. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to just let it flow. So it's just playing, and then somebody in between he'll fall asleep. Then he'll start doing, and he'll record this improvisation, which may be like 10 minutes long. And then he'll just forget about it. He'll go to sleep or lie down. Then come back and start chopping this 10-minute improvisation into a 2-minute song or a 3-minute song. And then say, let's repeat it. It was completely different, like, okay, now I'm going to sit with a harmonium and I'm going to compose this song in 5 minutes. It wasn't like that. So, fix a groove and then play different things on top of it. Some on beat, some off beat, some ad-lib. And then he started singing. So, first it was just keyboards. And as he started singing, he started getting more confident. And that's where the influence of Nusrat Fateh Ali, and then he started learning Hindustani, learning how to pronounce words, how to do it. So as a musician, he was continuously growing and changing, and it's an incredible achievement. Whatever you do in any field, to be there on top for 20 or 30 years is enormous. And the only parallel that you can see in India of a young person who came in and got success but didn't lose his head and remained focused all his life is probably Sachin Tendulkar. So I would say that AR is the Sachin Tendulkar of music. I mean, he just stayed focused on that and remained focused on that. And even today when we sit and we talk about music, he just walked into this office like some 6 months back. I lost my mother and said, I was just going, what are you doing? And just landed up, and I didn't have anything to do. We just ordered some curd rice and sambar rice, and we sat here and talked for like 3 hours about music. I mean, we were just listening to music, and he was playing me some tracks that he had composed, and it was just completely out of his studio experience, nothing, but just talking music. And that joy is still there. He wants to be the musician. But But now he has so much of work and he has so many things to do. It's a different. He's a star. But I think what really drives AR is the child in a toy shop, who has to buy the latest equipment and try it out and see what new sound he can create, and that joy the world is there. It's not driven by intellectual arrogance. It's not driven by ego. It's just driven by, let's see what I can come up with now.
Kadhal Rojave, yenge ni yenge.
Mr. Rahman wanted you to sing Kadhal Rojave or Roja Janeman. Did you record? What happened?
Yeah, no, actually what used to happen is that we would jam some tunes, and there was a track we had done for Synthol. Yengum naru manam ezhundaaduthe, yengal ninaivile kalandaadude, idayathil idamagude, yendrum Synthol daan. So while jamming, I'd come up with this tune. He said, "This is nice, let's work around it." And then he said, "You yourself sing it." So I had never sung. So it was Rahman who said, it was at that time Dilip. He said, "Just go ahead and give it a try." So I gave it a try. And then he said, "There's something in your voice, you must do it." So when Kadhal Roja was there, he had, just played it. In those days, he used to not sing and compose. He used to play on the keyboard and compose. And so he had done it and he gave me the lyrics and I kind of practiced it. And he had just started his new studio. So I remember there, and I went and sang the Charanam, and he was starting a new film, and the production company wanted S.P. Balasubramaniam to sing it. And so I sang for some 1 hour. But then I didn't know how to sing in offbeat and beat and things like that. So I was struggling with that. Then the power went off. Then I started singing again. Then the power went off. Eventually, S.P. Balasubramaniam breezed in and finished it in half an hour and went away. And that was the end of my singing career.
Finally, in feature films, Rahman and Rajiv came together for Bombay. Bombay became a challenge for both. Rahman had to interpret, musically provide soul to Rajiv's stunning visuals. And Rajiv had to visually justify Rahman's music and sound.
It is, in some ways, Rahman's best soundtrack. It has the widest range of songs that you can think of. It has an incredibly peppy Hama Hama dance song. It has a Kuchi Kuchi Rakma.
Kuchi Kuchi Rakma pasauna, ek achi achi gudiya de dona.
It has got Gulla Gulla. It has got Kehna Hi Kya and it has got Tu Hi Re. And it has the most popular BGM in Indian film music history. And that's the Bombay theme. So it's probably Mani Ratnam at its height and Rahman at its height, and coming at that time where a synthesis of all these musical ideas, and both Islamic, Hindu, Western classical music and contemporary, all of it was happening in the music, and the film was also that. So it is in some ways a timeless film, and we recently color graded the film for digital, and the music and the visuals and the film are still holding strong after so many years.
Bombay won 2 national awards for Best Editing and Best Film on National Integration. It also won 2 Filmfare Critics Awards for Best Film and Best Actress trophy for Manisha Koirala. Released in 1995, Bombay finds its axis in the communal riots of 1993, in the immediate aftermath of Babri Masjid demolition. Featuring inter-religious relations, the film had a multi-level socio-political narrative. Yet, it also became a mesmerizing musical journey that lingers with the audience for a long time to come.
If you are looking at a melody like Kehna Hi Kya Ye Nain Ek Anjaan Re Re Re. See, it's not a short melody, it's a very long melody. And then he would repeat it. Da ra ri ra ra ri re ra ri re di ri ra ri ra ra ri re ra. After that, da ra ri re ra ra ri re ta ra ra ri ra ra ri re. When you think it's over, he's like bringing in the next musical idea. So and there is longing, there is Hindustani music, there is Qawwali, there is Mapla music from Kerala, and so many things were in his musical lexicon, which was not there in other people's lexicon. That's what made him different.
While shooting Tu Hi Re, I think you had an incomplete song. There were no BGM, no interludes. So how challenging was it for you to shoot a song without actually having the song?
Yeah, so Tu Hi Re, as we said, it was a tune that he had, and it was a fairly complex tune, and it had got some good lyrics. But there was a dum 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 Tu Hi Re, Tu Hi Re. तेरे बिना मैं कैसे जीऊं आजा रे. All that was there, and there's just vocal and dum 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 dum. There was nothing else. So we couldn't get the rest of the tune. We said, okay, let's go and shoot it. So we went and shot the film, and he saw the film, and then he's composed all the background, Charanam 1 and Charanam 2, the BGMs 1 and 2, and rest of it he added after that. So here was a man who could get inspired by visual and then would think. So there was the process of making the song was, okay, I did it, it's over, it's my genius at work. That was never the case. This is, let's collaborate and try doing something. And that humility, that artistic humility, and that the filmmakers are coming with ideas and I'm collaborating with them, that the musician is coming with some skill and I'm collaborating with them. The singer is coming with a certain voice and I'm collaborating with them. And that's what makes the single biggest difference of A.R. Rahman with others. Others had musical knowledge, they had skill, but they had arrogance and ego. Rahman has musical, what I call modesty. And that allowed him to collaborate.
While watching Tu Hi Re for the very first time, when we see Manisha Koirala's character losing her burqa, so there was a very uneasy moment for me. Is she losing her faith to be with her love? But there was this belief that Mr. Mani Ratnam will never offer such a solution. And later we see that while leaving her home, the only thing that she carries is Quran. So this nuanced imagery, was it a part of screenplay, or how challenging was it to maintain the secular character of the narrative?
See, we didn't have any props in that set. It was just a fort wall. And since that location was shown to me by one of my father's friends who was a Commodore in the Indian Navy, long after my father died, somehow this Navy of my father was there. And I insisted on asking for this prop of this giant anchor. And so when she was running it, what if it got caught and it just came off? So it was just an idea. We thought that we are going to get stuck with one costume throughout. And there was this beautiful blue dress which will sort of come out. So you start in the black and then, you will see the dress. It was not with the idea of thing. It was just the boredom of one dress becoming. We didn't have any dance master. We didn't have anybody. We were just planning things and shooting it the way we felt it was. And the point is, the entire film, like Bombay Today, cannot be made it would be so because the situation in India is so volatile as far as, and people will take up positions which are so strong, and religion has become such a big issue. I don't think you can make a film like Bombay and release it in the theater and not expect the theater to be burned down today. In 25, 30 years time, India has become less tolerant, and that film's message was completely different. It was about how two people can come, live, and they don't have to give up their religious faith. They can still love each other, and they're going through a secular civil marriage, and nobody's losing their faith, and they are calling their children Kamal and Kabir, and so when she's going there, it's not that she's leaving her faith behind, she's taking the Quran with her. So all these kind of thoughts were very carefully thought of. It wasn't like just happened off the cuff. We were very conscious about it and doing it.
Bombay's narrative was divided into two. Before riots, where everything had to look beautiful and pure. And during the riots, the filth of rage and violence that sucks in even friends and relatives.
Your background as a documentary filmmaker, did it really help you in visualizing those riot sequences?
See, we knew that the pain and suffering and what the riots caused had to be shown. But we also knew that we cannot call in a stunt master and just have it like people are flipping and jumping here and there. Riot sequences are different from fight sequences. Somewhere along, when you're shooting a fight, it's like a song picturization. There's a bit of choreography. There is extreme slow motion. There's a glamorization of that fight and the creation of a greater hero and things like that. But that's not a riot. Riot is disorganized, it's chaotic, it's violent, it's brutal, and it just happens. So we had studied a lot of photojournalist visuals, and when I had actually seen one riot happening, and I found that after the lathi charge, the whole road was filled with chappals, and that's what happens every time there's a lathi charge. The whole road gets filled with chappals. So we had got and picked up whole bags of old chappals, and we would just spread it on the thing. Then we always see tires being burnt, so we burnt tires, and so we started studying the still photographs of all of it. And there were just few videos on Newstrack and all that was available. And so Illustrated Weekly, India Today, all those stills that used to come, we used to make detailed kind of files of these pictures. And then we said, okay, there's somebody, a man smashed lying in a road. This is the key visual. This is the key visual. This is the key visual. And mind you, we were shooting all of it in Chennai. We just went for 2 days to Bombay to shoot it. But we convinced everybody the riot was taking place in Bombay, but it was actually a set in Chennai. And then we had to shoot the Babri Masjid demolition. And to shoot the Babri Masjid demolition, we had built a scale model of Babri Masjid. So we went to archaeological survey and found out the actual dimensions, and then created a scale model. And when we erected that set in Prasad Studios, we created flares and created a haze and dust, and then had this track in. And then we had another set created from inside where the people with crowbars are breaking and the plaster is falling. So, there's this miniature photography on one side, and then there is a study of photojournalism, the study of documentary. And one of the things that you notice is that when there's a real riot, people are not actually taking somebody and, he's not getting cut and all that. You see some people chasing somebody with a knife and something is gone, and then the coldness of the killing is not seen. And then you just see people running away after the killing. So the horror is sometimes off the camera. So we were doing all those kind of experiments, and we were studying not just riots in India, we were studying whatever was available. We had studied Vietnam War films, we had studied killing fields about Cambodia. So we were studying how people like Haxel Wexler had come in, how people like Chris Menges were shooting, and how even Apocalypse Now was shot. So we were studying a lot of things to arrive at the final look and feel of that film.
Rahman's music for riot sequences became Bombay's theme and eventually Rahman's introduction to the world.
We were shooting Bombay and we had to shoot Hamma Hamma sequence, but so it wasn't coming. And we were shooting in this house, and next we had to go into shooting the riot sequence and the fire. So we had to finish the house, and in the house you had to shoot the first section of Hamma Hamma to go in. So we're going to get it, we're going to get it. We're not going to get it, no, today we're not getting it. So it was like, in those days we didn't have mobiles, so somebody has to make a call and say. Then eventually he said, okay, come in the evening. So the next day we are supposed to shoot Hamma Hamma. We go there and he says, I don't have the tune. So Mani is saying, why did you call us? So both of us have run from the shoot there. And then he says, but I have something else. And then he just presses and he plays ta ta ra ta ra ra ri ra ra ra. Da re ra ra re ra, da ra ra re re ra. Bombay's theme, you know, and tears started rolling out of my eyes, you know, just. And Mani is saying that, what have you done, Rahman? I come here to fire you and you're making me cry with this song, you know. And what is this? He says, I don't know. I just got this tune. So he scored the entire thing for 3 days, unable to do Hamma Hamma. But what he did is create the background score for the main theme. And what people would have done is the city was burning. What people would have done. But what he picked was the emotion of the mother searching for the child. So it was essentially a lullaby, and that lullaby was da ra 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 ram de ra 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 ram. So it was having all these big Western string movements, and there was this lullaby happening. So he was definitely trying things which were not conventional. So I think when you do too many films, you have certain formulas, and at that time he didn't have any formulas. He was breaking out of the formulas and trying, okay, let's try new things.
12 years later, Rajiv shot Guru. Released in 2007, the Mani Ratnam film had lyrics by Gulzar and music by A.R. Rahman. For many, it was a biopic on the roller coaster life of Dhirubhai Ambani, founder of Reliance Industries.
तो क्या अपना सपना पूरा हुआ?
For Guru, Rahman won Filmfare, IFA, Screen and Zee Cine Awards.
By Guru, he was still in that old zone where he was taking a month or so to do a song, and he was doing one song at a time. I don't think there was any change. We had Nannare and we were going to shoot, and I was telling him that, listen, this song and tune is fantastic, but I think you need to get the right singer for it. And we have a lot of sessions, we are talking to each other. And I'm probably one of the few people who can say that this doesn't work musically, and he wouldn't mind it. So, like sometimes, when a track doesn't work, I mean, there's a tune, but the singer is not singing it well. And that was what was happening with Nannare. And I was saying that this requires a very powerful singer. The singer was singing it, was making it a sad song. I said, this is not working. So Mani said, okay, he's your friend. Why don't you speak to him? You go ahead and speak to him. So I said, hey, man, you need somebody like Hema Sardeshai who's like really bought that song alive. Like, we got Avara Bhavra. Like that, we probably need a Shreya Ghoshal. They said, okay, we'll get it done. And we got Shreya Ghoshal, and then boom, the song just, Nannare really took off. It's the same tune, but it was recorded with somebody else. But sometimes, you need to do. But Rahman allows you to talk like that. We are open with that. And he can tell the same thing to me about a scene which is working or not working. But what really changed in that film was the evolution of Rahman as a singer. And when he sang Tere Bina Besuadi Besuadi Ratiya, Rahman the singer had arrived. And he had already done a film in which he had sung a song in Tamil. Vellai Pookal Ulagam Endrum Magirave Magirave. So Rahman, the melodic singer, had already been there, but Rahman, the folk stroke Qawwali singer, had just come out fully into the open in Tere Bina Besuadi Besuadi Ratiya. So, and that sort of lent himself into becoming the performer on stage, which he became, an entertainer, a man who could handle this big spectacle and create the biggest musical, kind of say, shows.
Tere Bina was dedicated to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. Rahman had collaborated with him for the Vande Mataram album, released to mark 50 years of India's freedom. Rahman adapted his style as a tribute to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan on his 10th death anniversary.
Because he could go so high, so fast, there were points in that dum dara mast mast tara dum dara mast mast tara dum dara dum dum eham dam ham tere hari. So, you know, whether it is Gujarati folk or Rajasthani folk or something, and then that song, when I heard it, I said, wow, what a tune this is. And that we shot it over 4 nights. In the 4th night, I still wanted to hear the tune. I mean, like hearing a tune 40 times one night shooting, and you still on the 4th day, you want to hear it once again. Then you know that the song is absolute killer. And all the songs were like, again, a complete album. And there also a great theme music for Guru was there, you know. Jage hai der tak hame. I think it was Mani's most mature film, and it was completely different from the other genres that he had taken, because it was a biopic, but not a violent biopic, but a business biopic. And to make that work, music played a huge part in it. Guru music was on top class, and of course the performance of all the actors, Abhishek and Aishwarya, but it was Mani's writing there was really top class. And I think the music and everything came together very well.
Mr. Menon, Jage Hai turned out to be a very orchestral kind of a piece with very grand arrangement. So, was he reacting to your visuals, or you had some kind of a reference music that made you decide on your frames, angles and camera movements?
No, actually we had discussed various kind of, whether it is Citizen Kane and, you know, all these kind of big biopics that have come in America. But here was this little boy who had gone and become successful. So in that sense, it was a rags to riches story. So this rousing kind of, so what if one guy becomes rich? So what does it mean, you know? So we had to sort of make this about rising up in India and rising up to the opportunities that is India, you know, replacing the license Raj and, you know, coming. So there had to be that kind of rousing feeling of pride of so that thing was captured in that tune. So it became more like an anthem rather than the plaintive cry of of a kid. So he was, in that sense, moving away from the lullaby space to a more anthem feel to it.
Guru had a very interesting mix of singers. Mr. Rahman makes Chitra ji sing with Bappi Lahiri ji. We also hear Chinmay Sripada and Mariam Tola. Can you elaborate what really drives his choice of singers?
I think when I don't think any music director before that has thought so much about singers as much as Rahman does, because Rahman listens to a lot of musicians and he uses a very wide range of singers. And like RD at his peak was using 3 or 4 singers, because you had to either choose between Asha ji or Lata ji. And you could choose between R.D. Burman himself singing or Mohammad Rafi or Kishore Kumar. Then that maximum Mukesh. So the palette was restricted to 5 or 6 singers. R.D. was a person who experimented more than everybody else. But here you're talking about almost like 50 to 60 singers who are not mainstream singers, but who are there in the periphery, who became mainstream singers during his tenure. So the question is, if it is a completely different tune, then you can use a conventional established singer. And then if you're using an established female singer, then bring a male singer from North India. Or then, you would suddenly bring a person like Bappi Lahiri to sing with K.S. Chitra. You would never think about that, but he was just thinking that, what if we bring this person? What if we bring Remo Fernandez from Goa? So there was no hard and fast rule. It's just that singer is going to come and lift this song one notch higher. And can the recording process then take this one up? And sometimes he used to really struggle for 1 day, 2 days with these singers, because some of them couldn't say the words properly, and to get the accent right, he had that patience to sit with them for 2 days to get a track right. I think those were the factors that made some of these choices of singers relevant, and nothing was cast in iron.
For the song Maiya Maiya, Rahman personally trained Mariam Tola, a singer from Egypt. For 127 hours, he had an English singer Dido. For $1 Million Arm, Australian rapper Iggy Azalea and American rapper Wale came on board. Warriors of Heaven and Earth, it was Chinese singer Jolin Tai. In India too, be it Mohit Chauhan, Madhushri, Naresh Iyer or Noora sisters. Many singers found their foothold in the industry after singing an A.R. Rahman composition.
How does he decide that which singer is good enough to be given a chance? Is there a process, a trial, any kind of screening, a group of people trying to look for greater singers? How does this happen?
Yeah, so I think, why singers are so important and how does he see it? It's not that they become part of his group and, they are there all the time. You would see that there is a bunch of singers that come for a certain period, 3 or 4 years, and he'll be using them regularly. And then suddenly, mysteriously, they are out and the next set of singers start coming in. And those singers don't know what happened. Is AR unhappy with us? No, AR is not unhappy with you. It's nothing to do with happiness and all that. It's just that if I do this tune, if this person sings, it's going to sound like that. So I probably try to bring in another musician to see how it's going to sound. It's just trying to figure out a new way of making the track sound is what AR is doing. So I think, so every 3 years, 4 years, you'll see a new set of musicians and a new set of singers there. And that keeps on changing. And I think there is this experimentation going on, and he's brought in so many singers into the field. It's unbelievable. And even when we were doing Kadhal, I remember when we heard Adiye's song and we were shooting in the burning sun of Rameshwaram. Sid Sriram is today the biggest singer in the South, and he came through singing blues and he was so unusual. He told me, this guy can sing blues, he can sing Carnatic, he can sing anything, and he met him in America. And so, he's just meeting so many musicians all over the world, and people are sending him demos, and at any given point in time, there's stacks of CDs of demos, and he doesn't have time to listen to them. And suddenly the song comes, he says, Swami, bring some of these things. So it's just a random luck that some CDs are put in. He listens to 10 or 15 of them. Call this fellow, he'll say. And then that chap may be in Assam, he may be somewhere, and he'll be flown in the next day to record. So it's amazing how this happens. And he's listening to, and he's tracking the kind of music that is coming in Kerala, music that is happening there, and reality shows who are singing. He's tracking all that, and he has his ear for it.
Kadhal, a Tamil movie also dubbed in Telugu. The third film that brought together Ratnam, Rahman and Rajiv. Released in 2013, Kadhal won 4 Filmfare Awards. Gautam Karthik as Best Debut Actor. Shakti Sri Gopalan as Best Playback Singer. A.R. Rahman for Music and Rajiv Menon for Cinematography.
Kadhal was amongst the last Tamil films that used 35mm stock, and you were very keen to use it. Why was that?
So it was one of the last films in Prasad Lab which we were shooting in film. See, basically we were shooting in the sea, and we were going in catamarans, and we could slip and fall off into the sea anytime. And I wanted to use something which is really sturdy, and I don't want hard disk jamming. And we had just digital had started, and we were shooting commercials with it, but we were also shooting film. So one of the things I had noticed at that time is that in very bright light, you need to put a lot of neutral density filters to get it, and film was there, it could handle bright light well. So we chose to go with film, and it was the last film to do with film as the lab was closing down. It was something, kind of a real passion project, you can say.
Kadhal's music, a blend of Christian gospel, blues and Carnatic music, received critical acclaim and commercial success. All the songs ruled in the top 10 songs category on iTunes.
Kadhal was, in that sense, again, Mani's and his big musical chart, because it film didn't do well, but the music was extraordinary because it had, as we said, a blues, it had a great fisherman song, it had a incredible melody, Nenjukule, three beats, Tintal like thing. It's like it was so unique in sort of music, and then it had a lovely love song which we shot in Andamans. Unfortunately, the film didn't do well, but we put in so much effort into that film. So it's not that you're just going from success to success to success. You put a lot of effort in, and as a music director, you put in so much, the director puts in so much, and some films work, some films don't work. But fortunately for music, even if the film doesn't work, somehow it musically does well, and that's what happened with Kadhal. The music was big hit, and the singers who came out of it became chart-busting singers like Sid Sriram out of it. But Rahman, implicitly, completely trusts Mani, and Mani completely trusts him. So that bond is very strong, He wants to give his best for Mani. And Mani is a man of few words, but he will try to do his best for Mani. And that has always been the case, and it's a fantastic relationship.
Rajiv Menon directed 3 features that had music by Rahman. Rajiv will be back with untold stories from those films on our next episode. Stay with us.
चंदा रे कभी तो समीप पर आ.
So, I remember very clearly during the recording of Mani Ratnam's Tu Hi Re song, the song was sounding very much like a ghazal and it wasn't really going anywhere, and Hari was really wanting to sing it more and more classical, and then Rahman was looking at it and he didn't know what to do. Is it Hariji, how do those Rajasthani singers sing something? Yeah, sing like that. And then say, now sing this Tu Hi Re like that. Let me hear you sing this like that. You say Tu Hi Re like that. Yeah, try to sing it like that. So, can you imagine taking Hari ji, who is known for ghazals, and saying, okay, now sing it like a folk musician, and then suddenly the song just lit up. And there was all these dying notes. Tu hi re, tere bina main kaise jiyon.
Do you agree that this indeed was the moment of the day? Is your choice different? Whatever your mind says, write it in the comments section below. We will be waiting.
चंदा रे कभी तो समीप पर आ. बैठेंगे
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the bell icon and stay entertained.